fateful night, Biggie was killed at the height of his career.
Yes.
Do you ever feel responsible in any way? In any way?
I think I always feel some sort of responsibility because I'm in this thing with him, you know what I'm saying?
Diddy called Sean, P. Diddy, whatever his name was during that time, called late Friday night, early Saturday morning, saying he's not going to London. Call Arista, cancel it. You go. You represent it. You go. He's not going.
And that, you know, that's something that really bothered me, you know, throughout my life. Is sometimes you have to really go with that decision in your gut. And in my gut, I was like, you need to get on the plane. But sometimes when you don't listen to your gut, you know, and this is God's world, you know, it's his plan.
Yeah.
But you know, honestly, like, you know, that's one of the things I regret, not making sure that he went to London.
Bruh, he lying and the truth ain't in him. You hear what I'm saying? I've seen the autopsy report of Big's death.
Diddy has always acted like Biggie's death was a huge shock to him. He likes to gain sympathy by pretending losing Biggie has left him heartbroken. But the truth is completely different from what Diddy likes to portray. Wendy Williams has finally exposed Diddy for lying about Biggie's death. What lies has Diddy spun, and what really is the truth? Don't worry, because you're about to find it all out now.
You know, I let him talk me into, you know, not going to London and staying in LA. And that, you know, that's something that really bothered me.
After years of speculation that Diddy might have had a hand in the brutal murder of the Notorious B.I.G, he's finally admitted in an interview with Wendy Williams that he does feel responsible for it. When he was asked about Biggie, he replied, "I think I'll always feel some sort of responsibility because I'm in this thing with him. He's my artist." At this point, everybody thought that Diddy's conscience had finally made him admit his role in Biggie's murder. But apparently, accountability is too much to ask for. Diddy wasn't admitting anything at all. In fact, he was once again trying to gain sympathy by making himself out to be the victim.
This is God's world, you know, it's his plan.
Yeah.
But you know, honestly, like, you know, that's one of the things I regret, not making sure that he went to London.
Diddy very confidently claimed in the interview with Wendy Williams that Biggie was supposed to fly out of LA, but Biggie himself insisted on staying. Diddy says he ended up listening to him instead of his gut feeling. If only he had forced Biggie to follow the schedule, Biggie would have been alive.
Throughout my life, is sometimes you have to really go with that decision in your gut. And in my gut, I was like, you need to get on the plane. But sometimes when you don't listen to your gut, you know, and this is God's world, you know, it's his plan.
Diddy says that even though this is part of God's plan and he wasn't really responsible for Biggie getting shot, he can't help but feel guilty. This is God's world. It's his plan, but honestly, that's one of the things I regret, is not making sure that he went to London, he said. People were quick to fall for this sob story, but the truth has finally been uncovered. Diddy's former bodyguard is here with all the receipts, and turns out Diddy had been confidently lying to the whole world in the Wendy Williams show.
Let's reminisce that night we was at Andre Harrell's house, and I told you that this cat was coming to kill us or try to get at us that night. I told you I had intel, but you didn't want to hear it.
Gene Deal says that Diddy was informed beforehand about the security threat, but he chose to ignore it. This is a huge allegation that completely discards Diddy's version of the story. Until now, Diddy was trying to convince everyone that he had no idea Biggie was in any danger, and if he had known, he would have definitely saved him. Turns out that wasn't true at all. Diddy was aware that Biggie's life was in danger, but he refused to take any action. Not only did he keep Biggie in LA, he also made no attempts to up the security. Gene Deal isn't the only one openly admitting that everything Diddy said in the interview regarding Biggie's death was a lie. Bad Boy Records former president Kirk Burroughs has also come forward to clear everything up. And just like Gene, Kirk says Puffy was straight up lying.
He was supposed to go on an international flight with me. We have the itinerary still to this day. He was supposed to leave that early morning, go to London, and we would be out there for 2 or 3 days, and then he would go back to New York.
There was no reason for Biggie to remain in LA, as there was a concert he had to attend to in London. But the plans changed at the last minute, and Biggie stayed in LA. What really shocked everyone in Kirk's interview was the fact that it was Diddy himself who called and informed that Biggie would no longer be going to London as planned.
P. Diddy, whatever his name was during that time, called late Friday night, early Saturday morning, saying he's not going to London.
Diddy used the same excuse then as he later did in the Wendy Williams interview, that it was entirely Biggie's decision to stay in LA. But Kirk says that wasn't true at all.
I know for a fact that he was prepared to go, would have loved not to go if his label owner had only said, "You don't have to go, Big."
Biggie was aware that he had fans waiting up on him in London, and he was ready to make the trip. Only Diddy telling him not to could have been the reason why he stayed back.
But he was easily talked out of it by Sean so that they can make an appearance at an event in LA that Saturday night.
Biggie was sick at the time of his death. He had recently had a car accident, and his femur was broken.
But Biggie did have an inconvenience. He had a car accident, I think it was in Brooklyn, maybe downtown Brooklyn. He had a broken femur at that time, and he was recovering from that.
If he was going to decide to skip his professional responsibilities, he would have never made the uncomfortable trip to LA, but he did. Then how was it possible that he would refuse to go to London out of the blue?
A big-sized person could not really sit comfortably in a plane, not even first class, with a cast on. It was uncomfortable. He was talked into going to the LA portion of the trip.
After Biggie missed his flight to London and stayed in LA, no security measures were taken to ensure his safety. This is seriously alarming considering that they had received intel that an attack might take place. The rapper went out in the city that day despite Gene Deal repeatedly telling Diddy things could go seriously wrong.
Something that we probably should not have done. We might have overstepped our boundaries based on all the warnings. Puff's security, Gene Deal, who was there to secure Puff, all the other warnings that we got, that we needed more security.
Kirk says that Biggie staying back in LA against the schedule was a dangerous decision, as every security detail is very carefully crafted. Diddy announcing the change of plans last minute left no time to make alternative arrangements for security.
That budget was never opened. The budget for LA ended, and there was a great need for security that Saturday night, and he was out without that security.
Kirk explains that the budget for Biggie's security in LA ended on Friday night, while the remaining budget was to be spent on the security in London. But Biggie never made it to London because of Diddy's orders. Now Biggie was in LA for an extra night with no security. This was the void created solely by Diddy. He had put Biggie's life in jeopardy. Gene Deal was with Diddy in the car the night Biggie was shot, and he had some interesting insight on the shooting as well. Biggie was traveling that Saturday night after attending a party when his car stopped at a red light. A car pulled up next to his, and Biggie was shot 4 times. Gene says it wasn't a drive-by as some people are being made to believe. Instead, the killers were already waiting for Biggie to drive by. The murder was carefully planned. Wasn't no drive-by, the car was standing there at the corner. The stories they tell us is not truthful, and now people are sitting here believing. So why is everyone lying about the details of the death now? Is it to make sure people don't realize the odd connection between the premeditated murder and Diddy's instance that Biggie stay in LA despite his work in London? Every Biggie movie that you see, they say it's a drive-by. When the witness tells you the car was stood right there at the corner, the car was probably there all night. Gene also confirmed all this to the FBI. A document from the FBI said that after intercepting the Deal then got into a car with Combs and told the driver to run the next red light, which is a standard security procedure to ensure the passengers don't become sitting targets. But nobody informed Biggie or his driver of this security threat. Biggie's car stopped at the red light and, just as feared, became the target of the gunman's bullets. Diddy's involvement in Biggie's death can no longer be denied. The entire decision to send Biggie to LA in the first place was Diddy's, even though just 6 months ago, Tupac had been shot to death and Biggie was getting death threats all the time.
Who idea was it, man, for Biggie to go to LA so soon, knowing that Tupac got killed 6 months earlier?
Going to LA so soon after Tupac's death was a suicide mission, yet Diddy managed to convince Biggie that it was important for the company. Diddy was told again and again that Biggie was better off staying far away from LA for some time after Tupac's death, but Diddy wouldn't listen. Diddy has also constantly lied about his relationship with Biggie after his death. He wants the public to believe that the two were really close, but that's not true at all. Biggie never trusted Diddy, and by looking at his death, it's clear that he was right not to.
We could have recorded that album completely in New York. A little bit of I'm here doing this when you told me not to come here.
Diddy had a lot of reasons to want Biggie gone. After all, Biggie's death made Diddy a much richer man. One of Diddy's former bodyguards, Uncle Ron, even claimed that Diddy had offered him money to kill Biggie.
I was offered $30,000 to perform a hit on Biggie Smalls. March 1st of 1997, I was approached by Diddy.
Even today, he is benefiting from Biggie's catalog. Looks like his greed resulted in Diddy sacrificing his friend, and even today, he is lying to cover his involvement in the gruesome murder. Fans of the late rapper are still questioning why Diddy would take Biggie to LA, knowing the threats he had to his life. One fan wrote, "The question remains, why did Diddy drag Biggie to California, even with all the tension and the controversy surrounding Tupac's murder? Biggie's fans are still waiting for the day their idol will get justice, and Diddy will finally pay the price for his crime. After all these confessions and allegations, it's about time Diddy's involvement in the case gets properly investigated." One fan wrote, "Suge was arrested for Tupac's murder, so when are they going to arrest Diddy for Biggie's murder?" That's it for today, folks. Until next time, goodbye.